This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.
Well, speaking of the Phoenix Suns, it's about that time to tip off the season here on Arizona's Family. If you watch the broadcast, we have a special guest in studio. You see her on the sidelines. You see her right before the Arizona's Family News talking to the star of the game, Amanda Pflugrad, live in studio. We've been trying to get you in studio for like 10 years, get you back to Phoenix from the East Coast. Super thrilled you're here.
It's finally happening.
Right, it is here. So can you do this every Monday? Is that okay? Can we book you for every
We'll
Monday?
work it out.
Okay.
If I'm not traveling or I'm not on the road, I can definitely, we'll try to make something happen.
I'll talk to your agent.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe Ferris will be your agent. So media day's in the books. We're getting set as we tape this, tip off the season. On Sunday, you're going to Palm Springs. We had media day. There seems to be a new energy. There's a new coach. There's a new point guard. How would you sum up the vibe right now as the Phoenix Suns get ready to tip off the season?
Good vibes. I would say you mentioned the energy. It does feel different this season. Guys are excited. They're wanting to get out there. They feel like they have something to prove. And Bradley Beal had even said during media day, joy. He wants it to be a joyous season, and how he kind of felt last season. Not necessarily he had fun, but he said he kind of lost sight of that for him just with the injuries. His season was so disjointed. He'd come back and then he'd be out again. So he said he wants to bring that. This season is kind of already seeing that shift. Guys are wanting to compete and just are having fun out there. The practices have been really, really loud. They're vocal, and they want to compete and they want to play together this season.
Well, and you certainly, the talent's undeniable with the big three. And you add Tyus Jones, a point guard this year, and you would think that would balance things out. But we've seen this time and time again in Valley sports. When there is the pressure of expectations, that robs people's joy. Do you think that changes this coming season?
I think coming in, the team, looking back, there were a lot of expectations last season, and maybe that was more of the focus for them. They kind of lost sight of just staying focused, and it was more about, okay, we have to win. We have so much to prove, and then falling short of that. So, I think the focus has shifted of just like the outside noise, keeping it there. New head coach Bud, too. I think that's going to be a shift as well of him preaching that of, we're coming into work and we're going to prove ourselves, but at the same time, really trying to put that out as outside noise and not listening to that aspect of it.
Yeah, and when you talk about a Mike Budenholzer coach team, we saw a championship up close and personal at the expense of the Phoenix Suns. So let's start with Bradley Beal, a guy that you were talking about that I saw singing at practice earlier this week. He feels like maybe some weight has been lifted off his shoulders because he can just do what he's good at, maybe not what he needs to do to help the team. How would you, let's start with him and just try to figure out how this thing's going to be balanced out as we get clues leading up to opening day.
Well, you're speaking of weight off his shoulders. He's
well done. Good transition. Yeah.
He's lost 20 pounds. He said that was something that he really wanted to do this off season. He said, hey, it's easy to gain weight. And I even asked him,
I can attest to that.
Yes, me too. And I was like, teach me your ways. What exactly did you do? Everything from what you're eating to what you're drinking. Like, tell me everything. But he said he'd dropped 20 pounds when he was talking at practice today. And he just said he feels better. He's quicker, he's more agile, he's able to get to the ball faster, and he said that's something that was a point of emphasis this season. Last year he said he didn't feel as good as quick, and so we're already seeing that with him, his dedication to his body, and really trying to get to the level that he wants to be at and where he knows that he's going to be his very best.
Well, and I think too he mentioned something. I heard him say something about just chasing his kids around, and that will certainly do it. Now you probably are eating all of their food, so that leads to the weight gain. So I applaud his discipline, but just seeing the joy that they're playing with, and I think it's safe to say last year Bradley Beal, we never really saw him playing with joy.
Mm-hmm. And you look at just how the season went for him. He was injured starting with the back injury. Then he comes back and he rolls his ankle. Then he comes back and, he broke his nose. So it's like you look at that.
Did he have a kidney? I felt terrible for him.
I did because it was like this was a guy, all the work that he was putting in, he really wanted to play. And he, there all that news about the big three, and we never really saw it happen last season of them getting that time together to really build chemistry, because it was, then Bradley was back, and then you get KD out or Book out. And so I think just for this season, not having it be disjointed with the injuries, you can already tell. And he said he focused on that this offseason, just being able to get away, be with his family. He has that new mental approach to it of really wanting to be in the moment, be present. And the rookies, he said, have brought that out of them too. Just that young energy and that excitement for the game. He said having the rookies there has definitely added a new feel too.
Right, and I think they're having them there's some definite rookie responsibilities that we would like to get to in a moment, but I'd like to make another transition. This is maybe the producer, and maybe because we were talking about weight. But Bradley's lost weight, but Grayson Allen looks like he could play middle linebacker.
Bulked up this offseason. Well, and Bradley Beal even said that could be a product of, Grayson Allen expecting his child this season. And then he said kind of, you're eating whatever your wife's eating. So he said that can happen when you're a husband waiting.
Pickles and ice cream?
Probably. Yeah. He said whatever her order is at 3 a.m., that's what you're eating. So, but he said, yeah, that could have been a product of it. But I think with Grayson, you look at what he did this offseason going back to Duke and working out there, and how he talked about just his evolution as a player. He wants to continue to improve on his three-point shooting and just being able to be that guy for the team. So I think that I'm excited to kind of see what he does, his level of focus. I mean, that is also something too, coming off the bench. What are we going to see with that, him being really the guy in that second unit to produce for them. So I'm excited for what he's going to be able to do, and just kind of building off last season, leading the league in three-point shooting.
Right, and you wonder if that maybe translates to the rest of the roster too, if you can get more guys involved, especially with him coming off the bench, and maybe there can be even a second unit that they tried so hard last year to find that mix, and it never really quite worked out. But Grayson is listed at 195 in some of the programs. He's a solid 230, right?
I don't.
I mean,
maybe?
he looks, yeah.
I know.
Like, it looks like Trey McBride.
Out. Just his legs and his arms, too. I mean, he does look a lot more solid.
Right.
This season.
I know. I wouldn't say he's like Yusuf Nurkic at all. I mean,
no,
but
not
he's
at all.
who looks
Bradley
like he's
Beal,
in great shape. But
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Bradley Beal called him today at practice the young Nurk.
Nurk.
Yes, that's what they're saying. That's what they're calling Grayson Allen right now.
Really?
Young
because
Nurk,
of how much he's grown in the offseason.
Yes. Yep.
Nurk, I think there was some talk, like, will he be back? Does he fit in? I mean, member of the starting five. I think last year he had to do a lot. And, we got to post All-Star break, and there was certainly some fatigue there. Have you had a chance to talk to him at all this year about just his offseason approach and how he's approaching this year?
I have not spoken to him directly this offseason and into media day, but I did talk to Coach Bud, and Coach Bud went out and visited him in Croatia. He's
really?
Yes, yep. He's put on weight. That's what Coach Bud was saying. He's really worked out, strengthened everything. But he went to Croatia to see him and kind of get a chance to get to know him a little bit. He said the trip was beautiful, and just looking to build that connection with him even more.
When we had a shot the other day at practice of actually Coach Bud kind of up in his kitchen, and they were kind of working on defense and post moves, and I'm thinking, okay, he's never going to be confused with Giannis. Totally different player, but the way that Coach Bud and his staff built Giannis into one of the best players in the NBA. You wonder what their plans are here for Nurk, because he is such a force. What's it look like for him to maybe take another step here?
I think for him, staying healthy, that was something that he dealt with, last season. You mentioned the fatigue, but I think coming in and already having that starting five set, you have Tyus Jones that is a true point guard. He is going to be running the point. And then you have KD, Book, Bradley Beal, and then Yusuf Nurkic. I just think that for him, knowing that position and just being in that role, I'm hopeful that he's going to be able to stay healthy this season and just continue to build off his rebounding, his shooting, and be able to help these guys.
Right. And I think there were a couple times last year, I mean, he would bring the ball up the floor. And I think that's because they didn't have a point guard, and teams just kind of identified that, like, why don't you make Nurk bring the ball up the floor? And that could disrupt their entire offense. How does adding Tyus Jones, in your opinion, balance this thing out?
I just think having a true point guard and a guy that he even said to knowing what the starting five is, even just heading into training camp, that he is the true point. He's going to be running point. That has added a lot of clarity for him of just going in, knowing what his role is, and being able to just learn from the guys. Great guy, great player, really focused. And I just think that he's a guy, he wants to win. And just watching practices and being able to see him out there, he is fitting in really well with this group so far. And I don't want to say it's an easy or seamless transition for him, but it does seem like he's been here before.
Right.
It's not pointing out, oh, he's new. It really has been, it looks seamless for them, and him just wanting to be able to make the guys better around him. That's his goal. And so I think that just having that as a leader on a team and having that mindset is only going to make the big three better.
Over under Nurk bringing the ball up the floor first or shooting a three first?
I would say under on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that there are some Nurk threes there to be
Yes.
had. I mean, I've seen him practice it.
Yes. So then there's the question too,
Yeah.
are we going to see him be more of a stretch five this season?
I mean, that frees up the entire lane, and then one of the big three can drive, and Bradley Beal is, more nimble. Can he get to the rim? Damian Lee said he dunked in practice today.
Twice.
Right.
Yeah.
After missing the entire year. What's Bud's offense look like? I'm dying to know.
So he said to the habits that he's trying to instill for this team just throughout training camp and even in the first preseason game, defense is number one for him right now. Compete, and he wants them to play fast. And those have really been the key elements of what he's been preaching, of just play fast, play aggressive, but really wants the guys to just go out there, compete.
Right, and I think playing fast was one thing last year. It's just because you didn't have a point guard, and there was almost like a, well, you be the point guard on this play. Will you be the point guard on this play? And it was disjointed. It was awkward.
The turnovers,
yes.
everything.
It was hard to play. It was hard to get in a rhythm. It was hard that there was no joy. And I don't think Coach Bud is in there saying, "All right, guys, go out there and have fun." I think it's
Let's
like
hug each other.
Right. I think it's you're going to compete or you're coming off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But that to me seems that's what these guys are about.
And the accountability,
Yeah.
I think that's something he said coming in too, is he's going to hold these guys accountable, and it's little steps each day to improve that is going to win a championship. So it's holding these guys accountable every single day and knowing that they have to still earn it too.
Right.
It's not given.
Right. Is Damian Lee a candidate to shoot threes like Grayson Allen does off the bench, in your opinion? I know we're only like 2 days in here, but that's kind of an X factor for me.
Yeah. Do you think?
I just, based on his track record 2 years ago and seeing it, and then I was really surprised he didn't play the second half of the season, the last year with Monty, and then not seeing him last year. I was like, well, if you threw him in, and then if maybe maybe Grayson's not like, I got to make 6 threes tonight or this thing goes nowhere. I just think there's more. You just have more you can do. You have more plays you can run. You have more you can throw at teams. That excites me. What else excites you about who's on the team and how this thing could come together? And Kevin Durant is a perfectly good answer because we haven't even talked about him yet.
I know the Olympic experience that they had coming off of that, and
Olympians,
then Book just building that chemistry. I would say I'm kind of interested to see how the rookies do this season, just if there's going to be any, playing time for them, but just what I've kind of been able to see with Ryan Dunn, how he's fitting in with this team so far. You saw this offseason the workouts that he got in with Kevin Durant, and KD even talked about during media day how he's taken Ryan Dunn under his wing. He's learning from him. He said they're always asking questions. They're a sponge. They want to learn. And he said it's been an honor. Ryan has said it's been an honor to be able to even have an opportunity to learn from one of the best in the league. And he said that, just to even, once he gets past the fanboying part, he said the lessons that he's already learned in getting better as a player, I'm curious about that. I kind of want to see how that develops and how he does get better as a player, having that mentor.
Is Bol a good example of that? Because that's another guy that you're like, okay, I mean, came 100 miles last year.
100,
and is there more to go there?
I think so. They had said too, just with him getting more comfortable. I think that was the biggest thing. And the guys had said sometimes he would be hesitant, not sure exactly what to do. As the season progressed, you saw him take those steps of wanting to get to the rim more, of just using his size. And he can get up and down the floor pretty well. I'm curious to see how he does this season and just that aspect of it. But I do think that we're going to continue to see him get more comfortable, trust himself more, trust his game more. And then he has his teammates around him telling him, no, shoot the ball. That's something that he's going to have to do. And hopefully he listens to them and trusts himself and continues to expand his game.
Is there anything better in this town right now than when Bol gets it going?
No, I love it. I love it. It reminds me when I was in Boston when Taco Fall was playing for the Celtics. It was just when people would cheer, it just the energy there of just it brings everyone together. Everyone's yelling, chanting, wanting them, and it's fun. And that's what you really want to see, just the player connected to the fan and vice versa. And I think that was really cool to see last year because he's huge and he just has so much support from the Valley. Everyone wants to hear from him and they want to see him succeed. So that was really cool. And I think that's going to continue for sure.
We were trying to buy Jared Dillingham, our news anchor, a Bol jersey, but they weren't available. If you see one in the team shop, let me know.
Okay.
But so Bol's likely off rookie duties, I would imagine. Because so we got a little insight on this today. So back to kind of our earlier discussion. Rookie duties, what are they? What do they entail? Like, what should we be looking for? And is there like a sideline report to be had here?
Probably. There's. Yep. I would say we're going to expand. I'm already hearing certain things for Kevin Durant's birthday. They all had to sing happy birthday to him. I heard that was actually from Coach that mandated that they had to do that.
So is the rookies only?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Videos.
Ryan Dunn said he thought he was the best probably at that. But he said he's just, favoritism to himself of just saying I probably was the best singer out of them. And then Bradley Beal talked today about how rookie duty is bringing snacks on the plane. What
are those? Are you able to see those on the plane? Or are you in the back? Like, could you go up and get snacks from the rookies?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a touchy. Yeah.
Maybe midway through the season I can try that. I think early on I'll just stay to the back. But snacks, candy, the things that aren't allowed on the plane. Bradley Beal said he's going to have the guys bring them on the plane, bring their luggage on, carry their luggage, get food orders potentially, and bring them food when they want it.
But is that like they're like driving down the streets after during post practice?
I would assume DoorDash now.
See that seems like it's a lot easier.
Yeah, and that's what Damian Lee said. It's not how it used to be, where you'd have to go out and really.
You should ask Eddie Johnson. Did Eddie Johnson back in the day, like what was the most rookie thing he had to do? He probably was washing his own uniform. At least according to Eddie, he was probably
washing everyone's uniforms.
Yes, I bet you that's what he's going to say. Yeah. Well, okay, so we did hear that Steph Curry, as the rookie on Team USA, actually had some rookie duties during the Olympics, which I thought was crazy because without Steph Curry, they don't win the gold medal. What was the backpack again?
Paw Patrol backpack. Okay.
Yes. And he had to carry that everywhere he went.
Yeah, and Damian Lee said maybe they would do like a Hello Kitty backpack for some of the guys.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll have to. I'm curious to see how that is. But they also talked about how it's a rite of passage. You know, it's something fun in the league, and the guy, everyone has to do it. But it's also too, they haven't had like true rookies. You look back at even like last season necessarily. And this year, they have the true rookies bringing that kind of new energy, I would say, to the team and that excitement. So it's fun. I
think that's what was kind of missing here. There was so much. I mean, and you went all in for the big three. So putting the rest of it together took time. And if this is constructed the way we think it's constructed, this could look a lot better. Mm-hmm. What are your biggest concerns right now in the West? It seems like Minnesota, maybe they got better. I can't really tell. How do you as you look at kind of the roadmap to the playoffs and get into the playoffs, what do you expect?
Yeah, I think for the Suns, it's just developing that chemistry early on. That's kind of what I'm focused on right now, of just how they will all fit together, and kind of being able to start out strong. In the preseason, I don't know how much we're really going to see Kevin Durant or Devin Booker play necessarily, but I am curious.
Just like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
We're doing the
We'll
pregame
see.
show. You're doing
But just in terms of the rotation, and will Bradley Beal be the first to come out, and then where Grayson Allen kind of fits into that? But I think just developing that chemistry early on, and having the guys be able to have it planned for their strengths and be able to see really what Bradley Beal can do. I think last season we weren't able to necessarily see that just because of all the injuries, but just what he's able to do and how he's able to make the other guys better too. And then obviously Kevin Durant and Book, and just let them play their game.
All right. So we've heard compete and we've heard comfortable, which don't necessarily go together, but I get it, because the more they compete together, the more comfortable they're feeling. I think there's no doubt last year it was not comfortable. Real quick, before we get out of here, just got to hear about your day. Like, what is it like for you as an NBA sideline reporter? Alarm clock goes off. You know that you finish at the end of the game with a walk-off post-game interview. How do you prepare for that?
Yeah, so normal day on a game day, if it's home, we're getting ready for shoot-around. So we'll go to shoot-around, wake up early, coffee, food as quickly as I can, get ready as quickly as I can, and then
because you have to run over to shoot-around. That's where you get a lot of your information.
Yeah, it's not like I have to be there or like required necessarily. I just think that just makes your job way better. You have all the information. The more that you're there, the more comfortable the guys are with you, and the more that you're going to be able to kind of narrow down different storylines and angles throughout the season that you'll refer back to. But yeah, I'll head to shoot around. We'll usually get 2 guys. I'll get that sound, but then I have, for the week leading up, I have previous games that I'm referencing, and then different sound from players. Maybe I get a player for a one-on-one at practice that we're going to be using for the pregame show, but he says something that maybe I want to follow up on that I know I could use for the open. So it's a lot of just listening to the guys, getting sound, talking to them, being there, and then following the storylines throughout the season and how they evolve. But then I'll go, I'll type out all of my notes. I'll talk to the producers on maybe what angle I'm thinking of. Obviously, that can always change.
How quickly does it change? Like how quick? Give us do you have an example of, oh, that just happened, I have something on that. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm trying to
think. Is that an injury?
Yeah, I would say it's an injury.
Yeah.
So, maybe a guy is questionable, but then we're hearing, okay, you know what? He's available for tonight. So then it's, oh, can I talk to the player? So that's the first thing that I've done before, where we'll try to get the player to talk to him, and my open that maybe I had for something else completely changes, and you're running as fast as you can to try to go get that interview, and then you're talking to the producers, hey, this is changing, this is where the angle that I'm going in and out. We have timed spots, so it's 30-second hit. Oh, I'm thinking of ending with this. This is the B-roll, or if we want to go and get video of this, here's what I'm thinking. And then, I'll get ready for the game. I'll be taking notes, stats. We'll do a halftime interview, so I'll know which coach I'm talking to, and then I have different angles in my mind. Also, listening to the analysts is huge, Eddie and K-Ray. If they're asking questions, maybe if there's something that they want to know about, that's something that I think that I will say to myself, oh, well, let's have the coach talk about that, or I'm curious about this as well. That's something to follow up on at halftime. And then watch the second half. We'll either have a third quarter hit or a third quarter interview, depending on each game. It can vary who's available and what angle we want to cover. And then for the walk-off interview, I will send PR my top 3 guys. And if it's a national game, we usually get our third guy, maybe our second guy. And I'm just having questions ready for them, checking stats, and then maybe referring back to something that they told me at shoot-around that I can ask them. So
what's it like it's so loud?
It's loud.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That was not that it was an adjustment, but it is kind of like you can't even hear yourself think. So it's kind of, you're going out there, you have an idea of what you want to ask, the angle that you want to go with, and maybe you have a key stat or something that the broadcast wants to talk about post-game, so you really want to make sure you mention that. And then it's just screaming so loud that sometimes I can hear the player with Bull. I think he had to like sit down on the I should have just told him, Bull, can you just sit down right next to me?
What's the height discrepancy, by the way?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think I come up maybe to his hip, not even. But I remember looking back at that interview and I should have just said, if you just sat down, you would have still been a little bit taller than me, but like we would have been a little more eye length. But sometimes you can't hear what the player's saying, so you go back with, okay, this is another one that I wanted to ask. But then I try to follow up on what they say, if there was a great quote that they had. So it's a lot of just pivoting and being open for change and what's coming next, and how the player responds too. Because sometimes if they want to get in and out, 2 questions, and then you let them get to the locker room to celebrate.
Right. No, that's huge. Lessons learned playing basketball at Pullman High, being quick.
a lot of lessons.
Right. Well, if I would have told you back in those days this is what you'd be doing for a living, you would have told me what?
Oh, I don't know if I would have believed you. I mean, I knew I wanted to go into broadcasting, but to be able to be in the NBA and in this space, I mean, it's the best out there, and to have these relationships with players and stuff. I mean, every day is kind of stepping back, even though it's crazy, as you know, the running around, getting everything, you're just always go, 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 you're always on. It really is to take a step back and be like, we get to do this for a living. We get to talk sports. We get to be around these guys. We get to share their stories. It's incredible. So yeah, if you told me back then, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I got out of Pullman. That's amazing.
We both did. Both did.
I know. And then you were in Bend, Oregon, and the connection, I feel like I followed you.
All leading here to here today.
Beautiful Arizona.
Yes.
We can't complain.
Full circle. Well, looking forward to the first broadcast on Sunday and having you on Arizona's Family all year on the sidelines and leading right up. And we'll take it from there with the news after your interview. So awesome. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.